Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, author of Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life and host of this podcast, Incredible Life Creator. And today I have with me Katie Dooley. Hey, Katie.
Hi, Kimberly. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I love having you and I love your name. That's the same as my youngest daughter. It's a great name. That's a good way to start. And just so people can kind of get to know you, I'm going to go ahead and read your bio and a little bit about you. So, Katie Dooley is the founder of Paper Lime Creative, a branding and design agency in Edmonton, AB. Her love of design and art took shape at a young age, and since then, she's been soaking in as much knowledge about art, business, and design as she can. Katie's passion and talent for design have made her a first choice for businesses looking to amplify their branding. However, it's her vibrant personality and relatability that people love most about her. She can make a deep connection and lasting friendship in a matter of minutes. Better yet, she takes the time to listen to people's unique stories and goals to deliver standout work. It's one of many reasons why Paper Line Creative is known as a collaborative design agency. Katie's Irish roots shine through in a few of her hobbies and side projects. In 2011, Katie became the 69th best Irish dancer in North America. She's also on the board of directors for the Rose of Tralee International Festival, which celebrates people of Irish descent across the globe. Among her many travels, she's visited Ireland and the UK. She hopes her next adventure will take her a little further south to Germany and Italy for an exploration of food, drink, and of course, art. Katie married her husband Brian in 2018. They live together with their adorable and tiny dog Paige. They love hosting lively game nights in their house with friends on weekends. When she's not working, you might also find Katie buried in a book, working out, or enjoying delicious baked goods she made herself. All right. Well, it sounds like you are into a lot of different things. So tell us about you and how this all came about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back to childhood. You said I could start wherever, and I think that's probably a great place to start because as my bio reads, I fell in love with design at an early age. I started Irish dancing at an early age. So all of those things are still a big part of my life. I still Irish dance, not competitively, but recreationally and for fitness. So yeah, I in school, I would love school projects that had that creative element to it. So book reports or science fairs or anything that you got to make information look great. And that was, I remember as early as 11 years old, I still have it somewhere in my office. I have a trifold brochure, social studies, grade 6. We had to do a project on China. It's the curriculum up here in Canada. And I made a trifold brochure as like a little tourism piece for school. And it was photocopying books and cutting the pictures out and taping them down and photocopying them all into one sheet of paper, like very, very old school way of designing. Um, and that carried through all through junior high and high school. And then I learned it could be a career. And so I went to university for this. And that was over a decade ago. And I started Paper Line Creative about 7 years ago. And all while doing that, I was Irish dancing and competing in Irish dancing, and that was kind of home away from home was dance class. Yeah, and I think all of that, got me here today.
That is so cool. And it's funny how, you know, as a creative, you just find a way to do things. When I was in college, I was a newspaper editor for the college. And at that time, we had these big sheets of paper with these lines and columns on them. And we had to print things on a word processor, type them out, print them out. We had to cut and paste in the right places on this thing and then take it to the printer. Talk about old school. I mean, everything was put on there. The ads, everything had to be put on for this newspaper.
Yeah, yeah, it's so different now, but I'm glad. I mean, I say the experience. I was 12, but like to have that sort of very physical, um, tangible design experience. even like letter set, which you can't even buy anywhere, where you like scratch the letters onto things. Like I
Uh-huh.
used to play with letter sets and all sorts of things like that. And I just loved it. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about your Irish heritage because there was something that sparked really early. So was it a parent that said, "Hey, we want our kid to do this Irish dancing because we're Irish and we want to promote our culture," or how did you get into that?
No, and it's so funny. So my grandpa was from Ireland. I never actually met him. He passed away before I was born. But there was always just like, you know, with a last name like Dooley, like we knew we had Irish roots. And um, I don't know, I don't want to say it was celebrated, but we were very like aware of our Irish roots. And talk about core memory, Kimberly. I I was, I think I must have been 6 years old. Yeah, that makes sense. 1996. And my mom and I walked down the street to Five Star Movie. I don't know if that was a chain in the States, but Five Star Movie. And the lady was watching Lord of the Dance behind the lady at the counters was watching Lord of the Dance. It had just come out on, I was going to say DVD, but it was VHS. And we didn't go there for Lord of the Dance. We went there for our Friday night movie rental. And I was just like blown away. And my mom was like, okay, well, we'll rent one of those as well. And that was it. Like I get goosebumps telling that story. And whenever I see Lord of the Dance or River Dance, and River Dance is actually coming in next June to Edmonton, I just cry. Like, so I knew at 6 that I wanted to Irish dance. And I mean, this is pre-internet, and it was very hard. And even like Irish dance schools aren't big on advertising or marketing. And so we couldn't even find an Irish dance school. Um, and then there's a large heritage festival here in Edmonton, gone on for 30 plus years. And we went one day and there were Irish dancers at the Irish Pavilion. And so my mom said, well, it exists. And so she went back on the hunt. And I was 11 at the time. So I saw it when I was 6. And 5 years later, I still wanted to do it, which I think is pretty impressive for a kid.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we found a school. I started at 11, which is a little late for competitive sport, but now it seems so young. And yeah, I competed until I was 22. And then I retired for a few years, moved out, got an apartment. Not great for Irish dancing when you have downstairs neighbors. And then, yeah, in 2019, my old school started up a adult alumni rec class. So all these girls I used to dance with when we were teenagers have come back, and we go for drinks afterwards, and it's just fun. But it's definitely been a lifelong passion.
I was gonna say, and it must be really good exercise too, I would think.
It is very good exercise. It is very hard work. It's yeah, your body's not really meant to do that. And the cardio is insane. So if anyone wants a really good workout, Irish dancing.
Got it. So is that something you do like solo? Like when you were competing, did you just like one person on the stage and they're doing the dancing?
Irish dancing is a really weird, very separate world. If anyone knows anything about competitive dance, Irish dance has its own um, commission, and it's all very separate. Um, so it is solos. You dance for yourself. There
Mhm.
are teams, but solos are where it matters. But you don't dance individually. They'll put 2 to 3 dancers on stage, all with different choreography from different schools. And so that's part of the competition of the challenge is like, how do you get a judge to watch you instead of the other people? And then again, they're doing different choreography. Like collisions are not unheard of. Um, it is I if you can go see an Irish dance competition, I recommend it because it is so wild. And Irish dancers are known for the hard shoe, for the taps. They also do soft shoe. Um, but it is wild to have 3 dancers doing hard shoe and none of them are doing it's just noise. I don't envy the judges that have to decide who because yeah, it's a bit chaotic.
Wow. So is there organizations like if people actually did want to check that out and find a class somewhere, is there certain organizations they would go to at this point? Because now we do have the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. So, for your North American listeners, the first place you can start is the North American Irish Dance Teachers Association. And then they'll be broken down into regions. So I'm in the Western Canada Irish Dance Association, but there's Midwest and Pacific Northwest. So just Google your region, Irish Dance Association, and that will give you a list of teachers in your area.
So cool. And then I read in your bio, so you got married to Bryant in 2018. How did you meet Bryant?
Oh, that's a funny story. And you know what? Because it's all about passions and building your best life, Kimberly, I'll tell the true story because often I just tell people we met through friends, which is true. It's just not the whole truth. Um, I met my husband playing Dungeons and Dragons. I had a group of friends that I was playing with every couple weeks, and my now husband at the time, he was working out of town, so he was like part of the group that played, but he was rarely there. And again, a core memory. One day he finally showed up, and I mean, I don't want to say love at first sight, but I knew he was different.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really liked him immediately. Very cute, still very cute. Um, he actually had a girlfriend when we met. Um, yeah, anyway, so our friends introduced us. We fell in love over fantasy battles, and that was back in we met in early 2013. So yeah, 11 years we've been together.
Wow,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank
And
you.
especially in finding the love of your life. So that is beautiful and
Yeah.
amazing. And wow, that's the first time I've heard someone say they met someone through Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep. It really says a lot about my personality, I think. I mean, we're both quite nerdy and openly so.
Mhm. So cool. And then, you also are involved in this what is it? The Rose of Tralee International Festival, which is an Irish festival. Tell me about that and what is your role there?
Yeah, I love sharing about this. So the Rose of Tralee is Ireland's oldest and largest festival. It's been running since 1959, so it's been going on for over 60 years. Um, the festival is really there to celebrate the diaspora. So Ireland obviously has had a lot of immigration over the centuries. People have left Ireland, and there's centers all over the world that are part of the Rose of Tralee Festival. So I specifically run the Western Canada Rose of Tralee Center, along with some phenomenal ladies. And our goal every year is to find a representative, an Irish woman, that represents the community here in Western Canada. And I love that it's all women, and the criteria, like they have to be successful women, they have to be giving back to the community. Um, they have to be proud of their Irish roots, obviously. Um, Obviously, being an international center, they can be Irish born that have immigrated over here, or they can be descendants um, of Irish people. And yeah, so every year or every other year, we get to pick someone, send her over to Ireland for the main festival, where she
Oh,
gets to meet other like-minded women, and just spend 2 weeks, yeah, networking, celebrating her Irish roots. Lifelong friendships is one of the core values. Um, yeah, it's a really special event, once in a lifetime opportunity for Irish women, for sure.
wow. So what actually happens you have local
Yeah.
festivals, right? So what happens at a local festival?
So the local festivals will look a little bit different depending on the size. Again, some centers have been around since the 60s. We've been around for about 15 years, so we're actually a smaller center. Um, for us, we like to bring the girls in on Friday and do a big meet and greet with them. Because we cover Western Canada, we cover 4 provinces. We're actually the largest geographic center in the world for Rose of Tralee. Um, we go from British Columbia to Manitoba, um, Alberta, Saskatchewan in between. And yeah, so we try to get all the girls in on Friday night, do a big meet and greet so that they can meet each other and become friends. We also try to do meet and greets virtually free that as well. Um, then the Saturday, they go through an interview process, very much like a job interview. And we ask them to dress as if it were a job interview. And they get asked about the things I listed. So their community contributions, what they do for work, what their education is, and what their Irish connection is. So they'll go through that process. They also do a group interview, so that adjudicators can see how they interact with each other. Um, and then we try to do little local events for them as well. So like a little tour, because when they go to Ireland, that will be exactly what they do. Then the evening is our big gala. Um, it's amazing. So we do a big sit down meal, um, cocktail hour, and then each of the women get interviewed on stage by our MC, which is really important because again, that's something they'll be doing in Ireland. So they need to be comfortable doing that. They can also do a party piece if they're welcome. It's not mandatory, and we don't typically take it into judging criteria. But again, it's a big part of the experience over there. And women have done everything from like reading. One lady last year, she in Ireland, she read like a bedtime story to children. She was a childcare worker, and one lady was a firefighter, so she raced the MC in getting her gear on. Um, Lots of Irish dancers, lots of singers. Some women do poetry readings. One lady one year lassoed a wooden sheep. It's really just, we call it a party piece because it's that thing you show off when
Uh-huh.
you're having fun with your friends. It can be a little bit silly. And then, of course, we do Irish dancers or a band or some sort of entertainment for our guests as well. And then at the end of the night, we announce our Western Canada Rose.
Cool. So
Yeah.
what is special and unique about Irish people compared to other people? What are your claims to fame or the special things about you?
Oh, I mean, it's a really rich culture, right? Like until recently, and some of this is because, economically, it hasn't been a very strong country besides tourism.
Mhm.
Ireland is still a very Irish country, like I'm in Canada, very multicultural, and I love that about Canada, but you can see little glimpses of what Ireland would have been like 200 years ago or 400 years ago. And they just love things like mythology and music and dance. So they're just so rooted in their culture. Storytelling is huge. You can't sit at a bar in Ireland without someone coming up and speaking to you. Um, and then I think there is, and the Rose of Tralee sort of touches on this again, centuries of immigration or emigration leaving the country. There's more Irish people outside of Ireland than in Ireland. Um, there's a joke I like to send around on St. Patrick's Day, and it's a picture of a green boomerang, and
Uh-huh.
it says, "This is an Irish boomerang," and it says, "It never returns, but it sings songs about how much it wants to."
Oh, I love that.
And that's very true. Like, there's just sort of this like, we were just in Ireland and we went to the Emigration Museum in Dublin. Highly recommend. But and there were these stories, and there is just sort of this like sense of loss in all Irish people. And I have friends who have come over from Ireland, and yeah, they always just like want to go home, but they've had to make some choices.
Want to come, but never do. They just stay.
Yeah, yeah, they just and I read an article about the Rose of Tralee once, and the Rose of Tralee gets a little bit of flack about being too pageanty and, is it as modern as it could be? And one of these articles said like it's about the diaspora, and the women going back are the success of their ancestors, right? Grandpa came over here to give his kids, my dad, a better life. And
Mhm.
me wanting to go back so badly is his success. And that we can go and visit and participate in the Rose is his success. So
Uh-huh. Beautiful, beautiful. So, now you're doing design and art and putting things and making them look beautiful. And then, and I can see this by just talking to you, your bio talks about that, you make friends very easily. And, talk about that. How do you connect with people in an authentic, real way and actually just really get to know someone, not just surface?
yeah, I've never really thought about the how I do it, but I think I go into interactions with everyone looking for the good in people. Like I think people are inherently awesome. Um, and And I think just meeting people is the opportunity for a new friend, right? I don't go, oh, this is another sales call. It's like, well, how can I get to know them? Because you never know who's going to change your life,
Mhm.
right? And I think, we talked about my husband, Bryant, but like even how we eventually met, it's it's like he worked at a restaurant with a lady who was friends with someone I went to school with, and then all of us ended up gaming together, right? But if I hadn't talked to that lady at school, or if he hadn't taken that job at the restaurant, um, or if I had said no to starting Dungeons and Dragons, um, so it's just kind of like a little bit of curiosity and a little bit of opportunity. You know,
Mm.
let's just have fun and get to know people. And
Right. And you don't know what people have to offer. And I don't mean that as in a takers type situation, but you don't really know the unique specialness about someone until you do get to know them. Because I mean, think about even just going to a job. You see your coworkers, you talk at the job about job things, but you didn't know that, oh, they do this hobby or that, or they're actually a famous TikToker. We didn't know it because at work you're just talking about work things because nobody really gets to know people that well at work. But when you take the time to really get to know someone, everyone has special things about them.
absolutely. And I mean, I've always been an extrovert. In school, I was the kid that the report card said, Katie does well in school, but she talks too much. And you could move me anywhere in the room and I'd be talking to the kid next to me. Didn't matter who it was. Um, they thought they could get me to stop talking if they moved me by someone else. Mm-mm. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I just like people. I mean, obviously I've met people that I don't like, but I go into it assuming I'm gonna like them, and I think that helps a lot.
I think that's a great way to do it too.
Yeah,
Give everyone the benefit of the doubt. You don't know. You don't know. Even when someone's acting a little crabby, like grumpy, sometimes we have bad days and you might have just caught them on a bad day. And so just a smile and how are you can go a long way.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, when you do get grumpy people, I'm a kill them with kindness kind of
Uh,
person, right? Like if you're gonna be grumpy, I'm just gonna be even nicer to you,
Uh-huh.
because you're clearly having a rough time.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So let's talk about your designs. What
Yeah.
kind of things do you design? Are you working with people, with companies?
Yeah, Paperline Creative specializes in rebranding for companies. So we do almost entirely business to business work. There's the odd personal client I'll help. But yeah, so we specialize in rebranding. So logo design and developing all the systems that work with the logo, brand colors, brand fonts. We do a little bit of brand messaging in there, helping them select brand photos so that their business speaks to the person that they want to connect with and looks consistent and professional wherever they show it off, website, social media, print media.
Nice. And how long have you been doing that now?
I've been running my business for just over 7 years, but I've been in the industry. I graduated from design school in 2012, so over 10
Right.
years.
So what changes have you seen as far as what people want, what they ask for, what's needed in the marketplace to be seen?
Yeah, it's been really interesting over the last year and a half with AI being more accessible to the every person. Um, I think people, I mean, always, but especially now, really want to make sure they're standing out. My clients want to make sure that are at that higher level than AI generated content. Um, yeah, I think the biggest thing is like really honing in on brands. Branding's been more popular again, as opposed to just a logo design, making sure the systems are in place. Um, and yeah, just looking really professional has been kind of what my clients have been asking for.
So what makes a design of excellence? What makes it up? What is there certain components or certain things you're looking for, a certain look?
Oh, I love that. I actually have a sheet I give out to clients on what makes a great design. It has 8 points. I don't know if I'll remember all 8 off the top of my head, but I always push for simplicity. So I think of logos like McDonald's and Apple and Nike, one color. Most people could probably draw it in their notebook right now if they're sitting at a desk. And that's important so that it can be used on a lot of things, right? Apple can embroider it on a hat, but they can also engrave it into an iPhone. And you want that versatility. You want something unique. Again, I'll probably talk about Apple a lot. Apple's logo is not a computer. Very important. I see way too many realtors using house logos. I see way too many mortgage brokers using house logos. And so you get lost in the mix. Um, you want something expressive and memorable that people will, stick in their minds. Um, yeah. Yeah. You want something that can be both consistent and versatile. And I know that sounds contradictory, but that's, you know, like I said, something that you can put on a vehicle decal, but also looks great on a business card. I think those would be some of the key things to look for. And after that, it's who are you wanting to work with, right? We pick colors and fonts based on the customer you want to attract.
Got it. Is there certain colors that are always most popular as far as people pick them more than other colors?
Well, yeah, blue. Blue is the universal favorite color. It is statistically the favorite color of men and women. It's also it's calming color. I'm looking at your background right now. It's a calming color and it's a professional color and it's a trustworthy color. So that blue comes up a lot. And if you think of businesses that banks use a lot of blue, um, yeah, so that blue tends to come up quite a bit um, because it's a favorite. I don't know. Other than that, I think it really depends on the brand. Red's quite popular. I don't particularly like red.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I don't design a lot of red logos unless I'm like, no, this makes a ton of sense. But other people like red, so that's
Uh-huh.
probably the close second. Black, of course, sophisticated, timeless, safe, pretty safe choice.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So I don't know if can you see my
Yeah,
book with my logo? So
yeah,
I do like red. It's my favorite color. And yellow. And
yeah.
I've heard that sometimes yellow can be not a good color because it's too glaring or whatever. And there's my little logo, which I didn't make. Someone else made it.
Mhm.
But would you do something different with that logo or the colors?
I don't. I need to know more about who you're targeting because I
Right.
really focus on customer centric branding and
Mm,
that helps me remove my preferences from
uh-huh.
the equation. Um, Inherently, I don't think your colors are bad. Besides, again, my personal preference, but red is energizing and exciting, and yellow is happy. So if that's probably what you're going for, because
Yep,
that's what you promote.
that's exactly it. Like happy, energetic, living life to the fullest. And yeah, that is it.
There you go. So not a terrible color choice then.
Yeah.
And
So
your yellow is dark enough that you're not getting the. If I can see it on the Zoom screen, it's good.
right. That's good. So why don't you show us some of your work and just kind of explain, about it and maybe a little bit about like who the customer is, how we can understand how you do the logos and how
Yeah,
you
sure.
do it.
I have one I'm going to share with you um, because I think this will be a good one.
And
So
if
you can see,
you're on a podcast just listening, I am going to have this on YouTube also. So I'm sorry, but we'll describe it the best we can. But you're going to have to go to the YouTube version to see these things.
yeah, and this one's probably a good one for your podcast listeners because I'm going to explain how I built this logo. So this is for a company called Journey's Home Health. She's a home care nurse. She comes in, does respite work, typically with seniors, but does work with all ages to um, whatever their needs are, help them take their medicine, help them bathe, help them change whatever they need um, to be able to age in place. Um, and I'll scroll through this because this is one of my brand frameworks I'm showing. It's the guide, it's the system that businesses can use to make sure everything's consistent. And this is her ideal customer. So this is who we built the brand for. But I want to scroll to her brand characteristics because this influenced the design a lot. So brand characteristics are kind of like brand personality. How do you want your customer to feel when they work with you? So hers are supportive, authentic, professional, educational, and spiritual. So right now we're looking at a purple screen. Purple is the color of spirituality. So when she said she wanted a spiritual brand, I knew purple would show up. Here's the logo for your YouTube people. So the logo it's kind of like a flower. It's a combination of a few different things. So the lotus flower, oh, I have it all here. Perfect. It's the combination of a heart, a lotus flower, a path, the letter J for the company name, and a flame. So it looks quite similar to a little lotus flower for the listeners. And so the heart is a symbol for love and compassion. The lotus flower is a symbol for overcoming adversity. The path and the J shape is for journeys home health. It's the journey. And a flame lights the way and provides warmth. So again, even though red's not my favorite color, I've said all these things about love and warmth and flames. Red was an obvious choice. So we combined all these elements to create the icon, which is purple and like a maroon and a red. And then we picked the font to be quite, she wanted to be professional, but she wanted to be approachable. So that's why we picked lowercase text. And the font for journeys, I don't want to say it's bubbly, but it does have a little bit of, I don't know, bounce to it, I guess. It's not your very stark Times New Roman. It has a little bit of heart to it. So that's how we built this logo. Those were the design choices.
Cool.
Yeah. Did you want me to show more?
Yeah, go and show more. I see where you gave them some choices too to change the colors or whatever.
Yeah, so this is when we build brands, we always want to make sure that they have everything they need to be successful. So we give full black, full white. She had a horizontal and an icon as well. Fun fact, if you're doing a trademark for your logo, you want to trademark the black version because then it can be used in any color. But if you trademark the color version, it's only trademarked in that color.
Oh, good tip.
And then we always show how not to use the brand for consistency's sake. And then, of course, color palette and fonts. We give examples of marketing uses. So I've mocked up a tote bag and a coffee mug and some business cards so you can see how everything comes together. And then, as I mentioned, we do photography choices as well. So if they're going to a web designer and need photos for their website or hiring a photographer or a brand photo shoot, they have an idea of what the photos should look like to be consistent with the brand that we've built. So it's pretty comprehensive.
Very nice.
Yeah. And honestly, same process, same idea. This is a realtor that I actually just finished working with last month.
And no house.
No house. Well, the interior of a house. So he wants to target high affluent millennials. The millennials with some more money to spend. And again, that informed our decisions a lot. So even the first picture on the front is, a higher end interior. Yeah, so I wanted something that did look quite luxurious. Here's his higher end millennial. So again, he wanted to be trustworthy, fair, educational, efficient, and professional. So blue is the color of trustworthiness. You can see it's on a blue page. For his logo, it is, I recommend your listeners checking this one out. It's a triskelion. So it's actually an Irish design. It's a three-armed or three-spoked wheel, I guess is the best way to describe it. The triskelion represents strength, connection, and progress. But I specifically drew them in this way to be an S shape. His last name's Sylvester. An S for Sylvester. It's also a little bit of a C shape. His first name's Corey. The realtor's name is Corey Sylvester. Um, and then the name Sylvester means wooded or woodland. And the alchemical symbol for wood is 3 stacked circles in a triangle. So we wanted to allude to all of those elements in this logo. So, and he wanted a badge and like a very traditional sort of crest badge.
Mhm.
Um, and it just wasn't, it was like too forced, you know?
Uh-huh.
So I went with still something encapsulated. It's in a circle. Um, and yeah, it was, I knew going in, he was like, this isn't what I asked for, but I love it. And
Yeah, I like
what,
it. It's simple and it looks elegant and it's meaningful.
yeah, yeah. And I think that helps a lot is putting meaning behind your logos. Like, yeah, I'm a realtor, so it's a house.
Mhm.
How long will that last you, you know?
Right. Especially when everyone's using the same logos.
Yeah. So he had lots of variations as well. He wanted to do an inverted version. That's a little bit bolder.
Hmm.
So he got a lot of logo files. There was one page, and then we do color variations. Oh yeah, I want to show off the marketing uses of how it looks on for sale sign. And I think it looks really elegant and definitely something meant for higher end buyers and sellers.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Is there any other ones you want to show us?
I pulled up one more, so if there's time,
Okay.
I'll.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do one more.
So this one is for a pottery cafe, or so if you're familiar with Color Me Mine, where you
Mhm.
paint your pottery and they fire it for you and get to take it home in a few days. This is a locally owned one. Um, the yeah, this one was fun because it's meant for kids and families. So a
Mhm.
very different target audience than the first two, where it was like seniors and people with money. So kids and families is um, a lot of fun. I'm gonna just jump right to
And I have
the
like an orange color. I always think of fun with orange.
yep, absolutely. Yeah. So the brand characteristics are fun, inclusive, creative, innovative, and warm. Yeah. So the color palette is like these taupey browns, orange, and then a really bright blue, which are, especially the orange and blue, are favorite colors of Gen X women.
Hmm.
So they would kind of had, 10-year-olds now, maybe a little bit older, but um, and then millennials love that sort of beige, very neutral color palette. So we can use both of those. And then also what kids would enjoy too.
Hmm.
So the logo has this big orange circle in the middle, and it was inspired by a sunrise and like these has like these doony shapes, but also of like brush strokes, right? And you can see that the colors are here. I'll even zoom in for you. The colors are offset. Oops, I zoomed in too much. Right, it's not filled in perfectly.
Hmm.
So it's more reminiscent of painting and like I wanted to have a lot of movement, like the spinning of a pottery wheel as
Hmm.
well. And then, yeah, something very readable, not so childish that a bachelorette party wouldn't want to come and paint pottery. But of course, it still needed to be kid friendly. So we had a lot of fun picking the perfect font and the color palette for this.
Yeah, that's a beautiful logo. It's very
Thanks.
attractive. And like you said, I think a kid would like it because they're going to recognize it. Kids like things they can recognize, and
Yeah.
they're going to recognize that that's a sun.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and I'll scroll down to marketing. Oh, oh no, I don't have marketing uses in here. I've changed my brand book up a bit, but we did a punch card for her,
uh-huh.
um, so that she could, yeah, you paint 10 things, you get your 11th free.
Nice.
Yeah,
Oh, really beautiful.
thank you.
So if people wanted to connect with you, hire you, I see you do the logos. So go ahead and tell them, where they find you and also what services you have available right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Best way to connect with me is either by email, which is Katie, Katie, at paperlime.ca. That's paperlime.ca, like the fruit. Or paperlime.ca. I have a contact form on there. In addition to this rebranding and logo development, we do all types of traditional graphic design. So predominantly print design. That's your banners and brochures and business cards, signage, vehicle wraps. If you can print it, we can help you design it. Is sort of the shortest way to say that.
That is so cool. And actually, I have a question about that now that you said that. So those vehicle wraps,
Mhm.
that must, I would think it would take a different kind of design and everything to make that all fit on there. So what is special about those? What do you have to do different with those to make those work and actually look good on a big car?
Yeah, it's funny. That was my first job at a university, was working at a vehicle wrap shop as a designer. And it is sort of a mind, you have to wrap your head around it because you're designing two-dimensional graphics, they're flat graphics, in a two-dimensional space on your software to go on a 3D object.
Mm.
So it is a little bit to wrap your head around. I mean, as a business owner, you want to make sure you have your vector logo because that can be scaled to any size. Excuse me. That can be scaled to any size. So, and bigger is better. People are always like a little bit scared to just go big. But yeah, blow up your logo huge, stick it on the side of your car. That's a great starting point. And then that's where things like these secondary graphics that I've shown in these examples are really important. So the swoops from Firebrush can go along the bottom of the car. That would look really cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would say just don't be scared to go big and use your elements in a fun way. And then there's a few little things you have to think about on, there's a famous picture that floated around of a Starbucks van. And when they opened the door, it covered the ARB. And so it said sucks.
Oh no.
They covered the TARB, and so it said sucks when they opened the door. So there's some little details um,
No.
that you need to think about. You don't want to be cutting anyone's face in half. People put their faces on it. The Starbucks one is quite an extreme example, but there are, a few little details that, yeah, nuances. That's a car by car and design basis. Unfortunately, I can't give one great tip because if you're wrapping an F-150, which is very popular here in Alberta, versus a little smart car,
Uh-huh.
it's a completely different design.
Wow. It sounds like fun.
It is. I like when I get them. And I still work with the wrapper that I worked with. It's been probably 8 or 9 years ago we worked together, and I still send my clients to him to get it wrapped. So
Well, that is awesome. I love having those relationships, those working relationships when you send someone somewhere and it's going to be done right.
mhm,
There's nothing
absolutely.
worse than referring someone and then they don't do a good job.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hard part about starting your own business is finding the right people to send people to afterwards. But I'm at a good point now where those lifelong relationships, Kimberly, we talked about.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So now I have a personal question for you.
Okay.
What gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Oh, ooh. I'm gonna say it's probably quite broad, but I'm gonna say my life with my husband. Like there's just moments we'll be, sitting on the couch and I'll just be quite content
Hmm.
and I'll realize how happy I am in that what we have now 5 years ago was the dream.
Well,
So yeah, it's just like those,
congratulations. I'm happy for you.
thank you. It's just those quiet moments where I'm, with my favorite person. My house is my favorite space. We bought in 2020, shortly after the pandemic started. Yeah, so I love being a homeowner and I love hanging out with my husband.
That is so cool.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and sharing your work and your stories, your Irish stories, your dancing stories.
Well, thanks for having me. I don't often get to tell that aspect of my life. It's usually, strictly business. So thank you for giving the opportunity for me to share that.
Definitely. So I have one last question.
Okay.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Um, I am going to share my favorite designer, Paula Scher. She's a big New York designer. She did the Boston More Than a Feeling album cover. That's what she's like really famous for, but she's done amazing work. Um, and she said something along the lines of, you have to get bad before you can get good. So I encourage people to don't be scared to be bad at something, because you never know what's going to be your Irish dance or your baking or your Dungeons and Dragons. So go be bad at something this weekend and try something new.
Oh, that sounds like great advice. Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Bye bye.